Maybe also that ukhule space where like everything oyenza ufumene the best of equipment usaqala everything awuyazi ngoku into yoba ngenye ixesha izinto azihambi right nokusebenza kodwa yes. Yeah, man, welcome to another episode
of Ephondweni.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear how the sequence, whatever, will sound, seeing as we are in that space now.
Yes. Ephondweni, the podcast, the name is Yakem, the master builder, Umavlag Valiwe. I am not alone.
I am the historical poet.
Yeah, the historical poet. Yes. Yeah, because we've done away with gatekeeping, right?
Yeah, no, we've done away with gatekeeping because we've proven that, I don't keep enough gates to make a difference, right?
You don't get invited also in some meetings.
It's whatever.
So much of a gatekeeper, right?
I get invited to the important shit, though.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, man. She is the lovely poetic soul.
Yes.
And today we have a phenomenal, great woman, Zandile Mjekula, multidisciplinary, multi-talented. She's navigating.
She's gonna be my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Could have happened. Oh, it's life.
Wow, out with the sauce and the
my first love.
So early.
My first love.
Oh, this goes deep.
I was in high school.
This is deep.
It was cute. He played cricket. He spoke like a colored boy. Yeah.
Has the charisma of like a pastor. Well, he was a pastor's child, but had bad charisma.
And a charisma.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So just in case anybody else is out there going around like, yeah, Lilith will always be my first. No. Cancel. I know who that should be.
Okay.
I know who my true first love is. Love it, live for it.
Okay. Nguban?
Who she's talking about me.
Okay.
Did you say Ungubano?
No, ngathi uthi you know who your first love is.
Oh no. Oh my God, that's crazy. Do you know he actually lived down the road here? And then when we arrived here...
Oh, no, Kashan.
Stop that thing. I feel like we guess it. But literally, me and my little teenage self, Tiki Dix, in Kabele, the Ela Tafana, the Pan and Brady at his house. So when I was arriving, I was like, I don't want this nostalgic memory, but it's cute. It was an adorable little thing.
Hey, first love, we can never compete.
But my first love is poetry. My first love is filmmaking. My first love is hip hop.
What's with the first love?
Trauma.
What's with the first love? I feel like abantu abangosisi, they hold dear the first love.
You also hold dear. You just pretend not to. That's all. Everybody holds dear to their first experience of anything.
That's it.
Even if it was a guy in primary school and or a girl, whoever, you just remember.
And I think anyone who is fascinated with you as much as you're fascinated with them, that's a bond. Like you're building this, whether it's toxic, whether it's good, healthy, but like that bond is hard to shake.
Hey guys. I don't have that thing.
The first boy he told me
you don't have? Macho man, no homo.
No, man. Actually, now I have FOMO. I think it's a wonderful thing.
But which is the partner that you remember again? Maybe that's your first love. Because I don't think your first boyfriend is your first love. But
necessarily.
But in my case it was. In her case it was.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a couple.
And I don't want to let none of them go.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Now, girls. Yeah. Girls, we do adore. So
who's got different area codes? Who was it? I got hoes.
Is it Nate Dogg and
I got hoes.
That's
who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Who's this guy? The light-skinned guy. Who was doing the car? Well, I know he was not doing the cars, but he had a reality TV show, Fear Factor.
Exhibit.
No, Exhibit was the cars.
Oh, Exhibit.
Who's this guy? He's a loud guy. Big on go Fast and Furious.
Ludicrous.
Yeah.
Ludicrous.
Uthi ngubani? Tyrese. Come on.
Akasekho broken hearted uTyrese ebendembukele ngenye imini.
What happened?
Udivorcile kwathi
Tyrese is always crying. Well, don't believe him anymore. He's always crying. He's like a shout out.
Ngenxa ex-wife.
Asuka ngenxa la video one bayinxelile.
No benganxilanga lebethela noSway. Sway's universe wara.
Yeah.
And wathetha he's got a girlfriend now. He's okay. But la girl umbhalele nengoma album. Kabhalanga ngoma yi-album. Aba? Hey, uTyrese eating ingoma single yala album meeting I don't think you ever loved me.
That's how stressed I want a man to be over our breakup. Like that's
why
make a movie
You're
over
not...
me. Like write poetry about me.
But dude, there's nothing you're gaining from that. Like
nothing that I'm gaining, but knowing that you're suffering because I'm not with you.
It's a gain.
That gives me at least 6 months of joy, and then I'll pray for you to heal and then move on. No, Kalogo, you tell you I can't live without you. You are the air that I breathe. I'm gonna change the game for you.
Yeah,
but I do pray that I even said to my sister, I pray for the sake of Tyrese, because I really like Tyrese. For the sake of Tyrese, I pray he's telling the truth and he's not just some narcissistic alpha male losing his shits because some girl said I'm walking away.
I'm going with the latter, babes.
Tyrese. Guys, Tyrese, why advertising? Guys.
Tyrese I don't know Tyrese and Coca-Cola.
Guys, why khwele ebhasini afake earphones abona umnye song ukhuleka amandi njani asuka uTyrese right hayi uTyrese ndiyazifela ngoTyrese wayikwi video no Tony Braxton enxiba umzantsi Tony enxiba umntla
you got a thing for Inansika, ne? Tall and dark gents, yes. Because
Akin Omotoso.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yes.
You have a type okanye ungumntu soul ties.
Oh wow, why are you dragging me already?
I'm asking.
No.
What difference?
Hey,
that is such an innocent question.
I am with soul ties. I don't have a type. I make me laugh. You're 50% there.
Okay.
You're 50% there. But I get tangled into things really quickly and have to untangle myself out. So do you remember with soul ties? I'm just
Kuthena abantu bengena type, guys.
Fondoni.
Not necessarily. I think a type is not necessarily to say this is the only kind of person you date, but that's what you find attractive. That's what looks good. Like, yes.
Internally, I have a type.
Like,
make me laugh,
but are you dating
have a connection to God. Like, there's a list, but not a lot.
I said, deeply, connection to God.
To find me, you have to find yourself and God. A chakra hands.
Nah.
I will throw myself into some.
Listen, Tyrese apha ngendlela awuzothi wow, he looks good.
No.
Are you for real?
No.
Oh guys, I'm not taken up by such things and fundamental. Even ngondingaboni, yabo, ngondingaboniyo.
So ngokwenza
njani? Bakhe wakhumsha kamandi.
Yeah.
Hey.
Afrika khumsha kamandi. Master kumsha kamandi.
It's not our mother tongue, this one.
I don't yabona ke agqithe xa ngam it's not our mother tongue, this one. Me. Not my type. So for me, it's in the way he speaks, the music that he listens to, and I'm from hey nangalamini besithethe ngezinto ze type. And I'm from Dongam too different from mine. Wasn't traumatized.
So what is Mjekula that's too different from yours? It's maskandi mpaka.
Like andizokwazi mna umamela o HER yena adlale laze lavuka idemoni lam. Hayi kaloku hayi.
Mhlawumbe time and place kaloku. Xa ehleli nawe nini sweet.
No makangabi ngomntu xa ehleli nami abe masimele umculo ofana noko sibe nencoko apha emculweni sihleke into eziyeleleneyo yabo
I'm proud of South African. I'm shunqisi about this shit.
uyangcola uthatha mshunqisi uyangcola andinokwazi there's local artists that I listen to usentsho masimamele uzomudika umzekelo asinovele siyomamela what azonilanda ekhaya webhuti
but his latest image though, like he's a hunk.
ne
Yeah.
yayazi ke masiba sasine-thing sasala iwine eglasini eyi-1 singqubane ngezibunzi mna naye
How?
waye-avoid enye igel wethu wathi come closer
Okay.
laa gel yayifuna uhamba yayifuna uwina ubongeziwe ngalaa mini so ke sabe siphethele the last glass of wine kulaa event sama phaa ekoneni
Yeah.
It's my last
You can write
one.
about
The
this.
chicken.
It'll be a nice movie. It will be a nice movie.
Yeah, no,
This
he's a
one.
beautiful soul. He performed with 10th anniversary as an artist.
Okay.
Performed a song that I dedicated to my mom. My mom was in tears. I'll never forget that moment. And I still owe Bongeziwe a show.
Which
in
song
PE.
is it?
Kuna phakade. Chana ngumama ke God.
That's the one.
Kude.
Mama, love that song.
Phakade.
It's, he says, there's a line where he goes, Mama, ubusindisa ubomi.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. That's
That-
the one.
yeah,
My
no.
mom cried.
I cried when I listened to that song because thinking about how my
I don't
mama.
think I even know one song
so
about Ubongeziwe.
His whole
Right,
discography is
stay in
wild.
your lane,
No,
Galo.
in a
Judge,
way,
I'm sure
but I
it's
know
vibes.
about Ubongeziwe artists. He should be dope. All the people that I know listens to dope music.
Then kind of this
They
is
rally
big in
with him.
China. They're talking about what? Bekhe wathorisha China kakhulu.
But anzange ndizipithuba ndiyomamela.
Guys, be chance ke but.
Because ngihleli nama-chakra hands.
Ngokuthe mina ndiyo Chakra Handy soul sister.
Kaloku wena ngwakudala. Yabo kwaqala zona. Let's talk about ukunantsika. Masithethe ngoZandile. Cela
I feel like Miss Badu versus the Chakra Hands. Silab. Okay, sorry.
no, you can go on. Those are my chakra hands. Naseqalile because
Yeah,
bengena
Chakra
bona
Hands.
No,
Any Chakra Hands yathanda bazi feminists.
Ufa.
Yeah. And
Bethala Power Brothers.
No. There's something. Once I close kaloku la feminism, guys, it's most of the time public display. Yeah, but it is never taken to our living space, our living room, our bedroom. You know.
So feminism is outside.
Look,
Submission is for inside.
Look, you don't, as a man, as an alpha, you don't force things. It's how you are, it's who you are that naturally, place people in good positions when you are around.
Hey,
Understand?
awuthetha kakuhle kum. Anawari mna. Yani bayiqala ngaphi feminism?
Yeah, no, but you were the biggest one.
According to most, but I've never said I'm a feminist. I just spoke my mind.
I think feminism.
Are you one?
I don't know what feminism is. I'm about equality. I'm about let's be equal pay, same. I'm that. But for me, it's more of an Africanism concept. It's more about being togetherness, community, and blackness. For me, feminism is a very white woman concept.
Okay.
Because one, I will be submissive to my husband, but I'm not going to be submissive to any other man out these men in the streets.
Yo,
Put a ring on it, and then you're going to see
the hand working. I
submission.
just like I want to submit to any other
not
motherfucker out
this.
there. Like you see each other. Yeah, the hand working each.
But I want to be led. I'm a princess. Treat me like
Nice. I
Put
like
me-
that vibe.
You know,
And that's the thing about chakra hands. They cheeky, they this, they that. If you know how to treat them and just appeal to who they are, then come on, guys.
they're putty in your hand.
Whatever. So feminism, special needs, billboards.
Is it Chakra Hands after this? They're gonna
Warrior. Bendingekho sana, bendihlele ekhaya.
No, but what I'm saying,
Facebook no
now
Facebook,
utsho
I don't
nje. Yabo. So it's not like ndithetha into ongayaziyo.
But she doesn't speak for the entire quadrant. She speaks for herself.
Okay. All right. Chakra hands. I got love for you. Yeah, man. I wanted to talk to, the person, Zandile, being born eZwide, and, just growing up in the townships and being a black woman who aspires to do things as the different than what they see around them. And in the Eastern Cape, because Pilaku province, hey man, izinto are slower to reach this side. So just take us through upbringing.
So, born and raised in the Eastern Cape. Etinach.
Okay.
Etinacha.
Okay.
Went to school between Etinacha and Epai. Actually, in Dada, I lived with my mama and her aunt and her sister. Up at Dwesi until I was like 3 or 4, and then we moved to live with my aunt, with my mom and my aunt, Etinacha. And then now it's at Dispatch. So we moved around quite a bit, no mama, growing up until we settled. I'm at about 13 years at Dispatch when I was about 13.
But I don't think it was weird because I think it was just
it was just like a normal.
Space.
And I never changed schools. We were just,
Yeah.
It felt like an adventure, I guess.
Town.
Like, we have just finding the right, like, for forever home, like the right space, which we eventually did. At Dispatch, she lived there all my life, I guess, well, since 13. Matriculated, went to Cape Town.
Matriculated where?
Eripeg College, Dinacha. All girls school. That is another experience.
Is it?
The side that goes with
man. Like, you learn a lot just spending your days. You spend 8 hours with teenage girls. And I think any teenager is a wild, uncontrollable mess of emotions. You have to let them do them. But now it's just all girls. All day, 5 days a week. So I think I definitely fostered a low-key competitive energy about me. But I also fostered some other good things. Like I love working with people. I love the sense of community. And that's something that I picked up doing drama at school.
And also the sisterhood.
Yes, absolutely. It's there. It's there.
Does it ever affect how you interact with your male counterparts who were also teens at the time?
So it was very when I was
brother schools most.
Yeah, right.
They've
so
got brother schools, a girl school.
Our brother school was Mio, and they didn't not in our time where they spent a lot of time. Not all girls schools are
Oh, okay. That's why I'm asking.
I hear you. But to answer your question, I think I went to a co-ed school in primary, so I knew how to interact with boys. But now that I'm a teenager in high school, it made it you're always, unless this is your friend. But there was always a sense of tabooness with boys. There's a line that you don't cross with boys because, oh my gosh, a college girl doesn't act like that, So I think it made me more aware of. And the stories that you hear from the girls, in school about just dating and relationships. Exactly. But so it made me very aware of what taken advantage looks like. But it also made me very curious about so I didn't date until I was 17, but I had a lot of male friends and I kind of always like to push the boundaries of a little flirtation. So I matriculated from there.
Okay. I'm listening.
Wow.
That was the can't even nail on the head. I don't want to talk about it. Damn it, that was the time. My God.
Wow.
The thing is, I don't know if my mom will ever hear this in her life, so I'm not gonna go deep into that story. But
I
don't even want to tell you what days of the week I was going. I just want to leave it. It doesn't matter, but it was a lovely time.
There's nothing you can change.
There isn't.
Guys, come on.
Oh,
I think we forget that quite a bit.
Boys in the hood.
Yeah. Damn, done Babaleka for the longest time, but I
You can't change it. You can't take it back. It's there. You learn from it and you move on.
And
you know?
God, did I learn from it. Not all bad experiences. Love is love, man. Like you were saying, first time love, yo, it will knock you off your feet. And then we broke up, so I went to Cape Town. Even though it was not about that, but we went to Cape Town, and then Cape Town was another world, man. Cape Town was another world. And
what year is this?
So this is like 2011 to about 2014. I got a bit distracted.
Were you studying there?
I was studying there, but I didn't finish. Like in my last year, the loop in my mind started to just have me in circles. Okay. And I think that's also where I started really dealing with mental health. I think Cape Town is it has an underbelly of institutional racism that you it hits you in
that
ways.
Was the trigger.
Yeah.
What college were you at?
So I was at AFTA.
AFTA, okay.
Yeah, which is the film school in all over now, but at the time it was in just Cape Town and Joburg. And so I chose to go to the Cape Town one. And coming from an all-girls school, coming from, a space of whiteness, it wasn't unfamiliar to me. But I've never paid attention to this, but coming from outside, I hear a lot, like people from outside will be like, Abantu baseBhayi are the friendliest, especially white people in PE. They're the friendliest, they're the nicest. And I didn't realize how true that was until Cape Town. Because it's not like these people are pushing you away. If you look a certain way, if you sound a certain way, there are spaces for you, but within those spaces, you are very isolated. You are made to feel your blackness. Like the depths of blackness that you don't even. So I discovered what it meant to be black in Cape Town.
We had a chat up and home. Sorry, Dr. Holtzman. He was talking about this. Is Kamaga. You'll know him as colored because also it was a new concept for us. So when he went to the States, that's when he realized that he was black. For the first time. Was this the case with you when you went to Cape Town?
In a social setting. In social settings, I wasn't black. I was the articulate one. I was the spark.
Described in other forms and other ways.
Yeah, but then I go to Cape Town and I'm still this thing, but now it's like a performance. Like now I'm pandering for my job. I'm pandering for a place in a crew. I'm pandering for a place in a community. And being me is just not enough. So I definitely discovered black and female, like the extent of being black and female isn't just, you have to speak well, you have to exude confidence and you'll be fine. Like, no. There's so many different ways of manipulation, especially in the workplace, microaggressions, and those are the most traumatic. Especially when I started out with acting and taking on different roles, but having white makeup artists, dealing with hair. Like
that is an evil experience.
It's the shade of my skin that had me apologizing all year because they couldn't find the right makeup. But they look at me like, and I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry that you didn't come to work prepared, what are we going to do with your hair? Oh my God, your braids. But last week you had purple braids. Now you have, oh my God. Like, so.
Performance, so pissed off.
Do you think you can change your hair for a scene in a film that you're not going to pay me? A student film? Are you people high? Anyway, so, but also at the same time, you in the in the back of your mind,
probably they were,
They were.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm very excited.
After students are always high, by the by.
On something. But
or the other.
We're not gonna get into that.
Either they're high or they're anxious.
Okay.
Or
they're dealing with their anxiety by being high. Yes. That's after.
That's the loop, honey.
You call it after.
from set to set. That's what you're moving in. No shade, no hate, but like it is what it is. And so that was a big wake up call. And then I found
Do you have anyone with you at the time, like family?
Not family,
Cape
but
Town?
friends. Like I discovered the power of friendship and sisterhood in Cape Town. Like the friends that I made there to this day, like, you know, real true connections, because we were like so it was like I had 3 best friends in my year, but then, you know, it's university, so you interact with other years and there's no kind of sense of like hierarchy. So I was kind of friends with people from all different years, but it was mostly back. And so we would go out and we would bond over those experiences, but in unspoken ways, like nuance, like living is sharing experiences that you sometimes can't even articulate, but it's a look, like, you know, and that
must have been a white environment, ne? If you just interact with looks and because
there weren't enough of us to
I
make a
wanted to
noise.
ask what is the big difference between after Cape Town and after Gqeberha, if that's what it's called?
This place after PE felt like high school, because it felt like home. It felt like after this, I'm going straight back home. But it was also at school. I'm not going to lie to you. They had a better and smaller community. And so
In Cape Town?
in Cape Town, they're bigger.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the PE one
The PE
better,
one
smaller
was
community.
better because it
Okay.
was smaller, and you really get to see yourself reflected back in you in different situations. And even though it's still a white institution, here there were more people who looked like me.
Okay.
And so there was more sense of compassion and empathy in work.
And the black voice is more audible.
Exactly, you know. Even though the institution was institutioning, but now I felt like I had space. Like, okay, I'm seen, I'm of value. And so that really got me back into it, like, because I was depressed like for 3-4 years after Cape Town.
Shit, man.
And going back to school, particularly going back into performance, like back on stage. Because I stopped doing performance in Cape Town because I was like, nah, bruh, y'all don't want me. Y'all don't want me, like, with what I'm bringing. Y'all want me to look a certain way. So I'd be in like these cute music videos, but kind of, it just felt weird. I can never always explain that. Like, it just
Kind of feels like then when in the Cape Town situation, you don't really have room to disseminate the black narrative.
No. I think, and this was, again, 2011 to 2014, so it could have definitely changed now. But I felt like there was just something in the air. And I know it's very mystical, but it chokes you, man. Like, it wants to choke.
Or maybe it was just you because this is new to you.
And I know that because of the collective experience that we had.
Okay.
I mean, this is not
I'm
the
not
first
afraid
person
of
you hear
newness.
talking about Cape Town.
I'm not afraid of newness. Like, I thrive in chaos. But my spirit doesn't do well with any kind of oppression, like any kind of let's hush you, let's push you into the corner. And also to be made to perform, you know, there's in acting, there's typecasting. You look a certain way, so for me, I felt very sexualized. I was like this exotic object. And it gave very Sarah Batman vibes, you know. And now that we are of very clear what Sarah went through, there is, I think, for Black women, there is a silent revolution that happens inside, or like a silent raging when you see yourself being put on a stage,
Objectified.
exactly, to look a certain way and sound a certain way, because Black people are full of so much nuance. Like, we're no particular thing. We're all collective, but we're individuals, and so I never felt like me and the group of women that I was in a friendship with really had a voice when we were in workspaces.
You never had like maybe create something that will express how you felt as a comedian?
I think I'm in that process now. I think I'm in the process of writing from self, because really that's what any creative endeavor is. Like it's self, and hoping that self connects with your audience. So I'm in a space where I'm writing about discovering spirituality, discovering self, discovering my niche, my voice, but I'm not interested in talking about that Cape Town collective experience, because I know what it is, and it's not my fight anymore. It's not. Like, the one thing I told myself, I can go visit Cape Town. I don't think I can go live and work there. And maybe that'll change in another 10 years. But if I'm going to thrive...
The experience was brutal.
Okay. It was brutal because it was silent. Like, I couldn't make sense of it until I left. And it's not like, oh, they did that to me, she did that to me. I'm writing a list of... It is the whole city. Just...
It's bad in there's a Cape Town, no?
Remember when I was saying the taxi strike, it's power dynamics. It's white versus black.
It's
and then the white is like,
racism.
we cannot let you do as you please. We are going to manage you. So that's what we are dealing with.
It sounds terrible. Also, because it's not the first time you hear umdu ethetha nge-Cape Town as though usendlini ethile yabo ingathi ulapha
ebekuronta
like I summarize ikapa engathi yebo experience yalo ronta ba ukhohlekelo pha kula room then uqonde ikapa lonke likulo ronta uyayibona it's a weird thing ba abantu really have to go through that and I guess become comfortable within it, because also abantu abamnyama currently bayafuna uphila ezindaweni eziright ezinhle ezitheni, so abanye baye bazixela ba hawe thunza uyolwa phambili, I'll endure, I'll fight it phambili.
But one thing, the creative senior sekapa is, you can't fight it. That's why you stay. Like, as much as there's iloronda that sucks emini ebusuku. Oh, I'm chomi kuphume tikolosho kujive ileyilonto. Yes, we are deep again.
Yes,
you cannot leave. Like,
it must be a confusing experience.
It really is.
I think it was my first time in Cape Town. Like, it's a long street. It's 12. It's midnight, and then e-cabs. It's like doing e-hailing era. E-cabs I'm like, what the fuck? People are only going to the Groove midnight.
And they're going to be out until 6, 7, 8.
And it must also be a testing experience then, because also in Cape Town, there's also the international community that is very excited to experience everything South African, and they summarize South Africa as Cape Town. And of Manisba, they embrace abantu abamnyama kakhulu because that's what they associate South Africa with. And they're trying to step away from this European experience that Cape Town represents as well. So there's the racism you experience from Cape Townians, white Cape Townians. Then there's the friendliness you experience from the internationals who you probably meet pa Ecuador.
That should be confusing.
It must be a very confusing experience.
In school, we did have some international students, but as someone becomes familiar with the system, you kind of become less enchanted by it, right? So
that's true.
But Ecuadana at night, free drinks. I remember I was doing an assignment, I think in my second year, and I was sitting at this restaurant that had a big window that looked outside into Lower Main Road, at OBS. And I was just like typing, and I remember looking out the window, and this tall white man, this Caucasian, walked past and he looked in. And it's like, his heart just stopped, and he came inside and he was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. I just wanted you to know that. I'm like, oh, thanks. He's like, can I pay for your meal? I'm not gonna. I was like, I'm waiting for someone. He's like, no, I just want to pay for your meal. And he was German. He sounded German and that was the fascination that left me like,
Bakhona nabanje.
It was weird, like not even bakhona banjena, but like because siyabazi belunga and jungle fever, man. But like it was weird in the sense of like, I just want to appreciate you. You will never find that kind of not even lustfulness, but big-eyed enchanted, and then you pay for your food, in just randomly. Maybe some hands get it all the time. I'm not one of those hands who gets it all the time. But that's also like another thing, like tying it back to Long Street. It's we'd be at, those spots with the 5 rand shots. And as soon as like you walk out and just walking down the street, people are like, oh my God, come get a drink with us. So there is that fascination, especially if you look really kind of like
edgy.
Which to them is exotic, If you've got beads in your hair and you got purple hair and you're wearing like printed crop tops and, if you're that hand,
there's a look to it.
There's a look. And if your melanin hits a certain peak, oh my God. But also these were all my observations because it was all new to me. Like someone else can.
Also, we express, like you say, as a writer, you want to write from self. I think also the spaces that we interact with, we experience them from self.
A deep projection of self, like a mirror staring back at you. And with all that being said, I really enjoyed Cape Town as a creative, as someone who made friends. But when we're looking at the trauma coming back from it, there was some So, but I think repeating some cycles, so going back to school and finishing off really healed that part and just kind of like, okay, cool. So the thing has been achieved. That thing has been unlocked. Now you felt like you were felt and held safe in this smaller space, in the smaller community. Let that shit go, girl.
You say you went through depressions like 4 years. Did you realize when you were going through it, or it's when you came back and sort of like sought professional help?
When I came back, and my professional help was my mom. So that's why that song Kabongeziwe and that line, you saved my life. Because like, she just didn't give up, And depression looks different to our parents, I think for her, it looked like a restlessness. And when you know and you've raised your child for so long, and you've seen them achieve, because our achievements, no matter how small they are, because I maybe it feels like an extension of them. I don't know. But I think my mom was just like, no, like.
I think also her being a teacher, né?
Exactly. So she didn't give up, bruh. And I was just restless, not wanting to be home, because being anywhere else, whether family, whether friends, just kind of took my mind off of, oh my God, I really disappointed myself. This effing sucks. And so I went through that for a while and I sat in that. And what it looked like was sleeping all day, not because I'm particularly tired, but because there's just
there's no reason.
And I just kind of sat in this, I don't want to say self-pity because it wasn't like, woe is me, but I just sat in this hole. And every time I felt like I was looking up, trying to get out, But then I went back to after. Within that first month, bruh, I was like, yeah. And I think it's because when your spirit knows what it wants and your mind hasn't made that connection, there's a deep disconnect. Like you're thrown off, you're overstimulated, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. But then when that alignment happens, you're like, yeah, okay, this is what I throw myself into. This is what I'm focusing myself into. And I think that's where the writer and director was born, from being there. Because one thing I was like, I'm not going to be silenced, So everyone heard my opinions. If you came to me and you were like, please be in my movie, girl, let's go. I don't think she'd say that, first of all. That's a stupid ass first line. I'm reading your scripts. I'm going through you and I was very vocal about wanting to give good performances. Like I was like, I'm not here to to compromise the talent. No, we're not here for that. I just really wanted to feel good, and being on stage felt good. And I know giving a great performance that was well researched, that was well practiced, that was well actualized, a person that wasn't a character just on paper. That's what I wanted to do. And so I started making my own changes to people's scripts, but like not too much. Not too much. But like in the best way, like in the best. I'm a bully for the good. I'm just like, baby.
Wow, this.
I think the line sucks, but this is how we can fix it. Listen to me. Listen. So that's how I got into directing for theater, because in the acting side of the program, of the curriculum, we were just left to create in theater. They were like, this is theater, do whatever, figure it out.
And were you under Jen?
Yes.
Jen Schneeberg.
Yes, and she changed my life because, listen, I had been following like the same kind of dramatic structure in terms of like performance, what it should feel like, what it should move like, what it looks like, since high school. And then Jen, who was at Rhodes, and she had done vocal and she had done body movement, perform. For her, like, acting was a whole, it was a beast. It wasn't just a little element of perfectionism and looking.
Rose and Jay, I think, has a space for art.
Yes.
In an approach it different from a lot of universities.
But still, it is a very white institution, but their approach to creative art, I think, is very different. It's very sustainable. They create artists that understand.
Because Msaki is Rhodes as well.
What makes it white? The Rhodes.
First of all, that it was discovered by Rhodes.
Rhodes.
But it's the money behind it, I think.
I mean, also all these institutions mainly are white institutions. NMU is a white institution. What makes it white is also sometimes the way the agenda. Do you know what I mean? Even the way that you are taught, it will show you what the agenda is. I just think that sometimes the creative arts zbanelaga because a lot of powers don't consider creative arts as anything that's going to be life-changing. Okay. So for manisba, spaces chile, there's more freedom. Creativity corner and how it is taught. But you check the curriculum, nobody is studying a Joe Mafela. Right?
Gibson Kente,
his style of theater making. Nobody is really looking at those people in a deeper fashion. But you find that there's a lot of focus on and I could identify Lady Macbeth. You are able to place Izindo according to white experience and white history of art. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what I would say determines whiteness.
Isn't ILM an institution that's supposed to, make the bridge, the International Library of African Music, which is situated at Rhodes?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But it's very new, right? And what I would think about that, right, is anything for us right now, post-apartheid.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything that came out 95, 2000 is new.
Because I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'm thinking Indoba, that's where guitar Nansika isking Semaskandi should be studied, or Nansika archives history who was the first guy to play that. It should be there.
Yeah, it could find its space there. But the thing about even ILM, there's the other one, the National, what is it? Which Indigenous one? Language Library, I think. Ipai Road's got a name. Or Language Museum. Okay. I think it's called. Nelam, Nema, or whatever.
No, I don't know that one. I should check it out.
The thing about these institutions and how they remain white, is that even the standard by which we choose to do research and what we are researching and what we are archiving is yes, you'll see black faces, but also they've been heavily influenced by whiteness. So a lot of people that have studied music that want to do these research and archive, they do it with a white approach. It's not easy to put together mhlambi an academic reference to ikatara kamaskandi because mhlambi the keys, the chords, the notes azizwe zizifundiweyo pha esikolweni. Uyayibona la nto. So it's a subject to application in the white form.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Because ngamanye amaxesha izinto zethu sasingabantu abamnyama azifundeki ncam ziyenziwa. Zifundwa ngokwenziwa. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's difficult if Tina Snot Pakame and actually write things, write books and do the archiving ngokwetu, write about our experiences. We might not really get the depth and the value of it all, of the Black experience in terms of creativity, because yonke into yenziwayo in an English term simply because
I think a library that is completely of us and our agenda, because archiving, you can do the things, right? You can do the research and you can create this paper, you can create this piece of work, but it's still up to that institution to say it has a space here, right? And so you find that a lot of our voices are still disregarded in that sense, because it's like, Zamani's music is nice, but it just doesn't have a space here. Whereas because Zamani's music is very heavily influenced by her experience and her space within African culture, I guess, right? And the fact that she calls herself, let's say, an indigenous musician. There's space in that already. Because is it not the fact that we're trying to archive more Black voices because we've lost so much of our own history, because they destroyed it live, Sibukele, you know? They changed stories from Unongawuse to freaking Nomhlenkonyeni's own history and story, you know? And they still choose to say, okay, this is worthy of being archived, this isn't. So I think the solution could be a space where it's completely of us, run by us, for us, where there isn't this gatekeeping on what constitutes archival, worthy of being saved for later.
It's that mindset ka Umar Johnson.
Yes.
With Ephondweni.
Ephondweni guy.
Yeah, you know what about the school that he's building and whatnot, and it's fully funded by him or him and his network, right? That's the thing that he says. The moment they put funds to your cause, it's gone. It's gone, and it's.
How many of ours, man, are willing to, you know?
I don't know how much I trust in EFF, but Julius also says that a lot lately. We did this on our own as funders by the Oppenheimers and the whatnot. But I always find myself wondering, I wonder which white person did fund. No one was in England, no one was South Africa.
Russians.
I feel like there's someone there. But in any case, I'm just trying to, you know, to bring that home kind of vibe. I want to come back to Zandile though. I'm listening to the things that you believe in, that you propagate for. And I'm very much aware, obviously, of some of your connections, you know, very much aware of, Aspeza speaks very highly of you.
That's a girl.
Yes, I know. She speaks very highly of you. Secondly, I know that at a point in time, Ungu stepped into AFDA. And I remember myself celebrating that he was at AFDA, because I knew that was a shift after. That was going to change
for real.
a lot, because Uxolisa is not an ordinary human being. And Uxolisa is not the kind that reads to appear intelligent.
Oh, no.
He reads to actually apply. He reads to learn something and live the thing that he has read. So if I were to assume him as a bigoist, as a Black conscious individual, I would say there must have been a major shift after when he stepped in. How did knowing him influence you? I know that he is in your life because you work in Pearson and that's one of his passion projects. So, I just want to know, meeting a person like that, and by the way, we need to have a police.
That's my dude. That's my dude. That's my. I'll make him rap too.
Planet X. People don't know that guy is called Planet X.
Live so many lives, guys.
Yes. So meeting a person like that who is so determined to unearth the depth of who we are as a people, to tell his truth, right? How has that influenced you as an artist, as a writer?
Firstly, I think the passion in which you exhibit speaking about him is exactly how I feel and how he changed me. But I also know his reaction to it would be like, yeah. You know, you know, and that's really for me what stood out. Mm-hmm. The fact that this human has a capacity and a want for so much change within his community, his environment, and for his people. But he carries himself with an energy of absolute calm and not even control, but calm and this kind of understanding of what will happen, but I'm still going to fight for what I want. When I met him, he wasn't a lecturer there yet. It was my honors year, and we had just come back from the National Arts Festival, and we had done a theater piece that we had written and performed as a class, and there were 3 of us in my acting class. And then he came and watched, right? And then and then we had a Q&A. And I particularly liked the question that he asked about the performance. Can't remember what it is. That I went outside to him, and I'd heard of him, right? I'd heard of him within like the
legend.
The rumblings of PE. Have his name, you know? And so I went up to him and I was like, look, and I had also seen a work that he had done earlier that year. So I was, and his work made me cry watching it because it was dealing with Ikawa and a particular photographer who had taken a photo of Umfundisi. I think it's based on something Yalapepai. But for me, it slapped so hard because it felt like he had written that piece for my uncle, Dakatai, who was Umfundisi, who had dealt so much within the community, who had people from overseas coming to document his progress and how he was changing the landscape of New Brighton, of PE, with the word of God, you know? So that for me was like, oh my God, you know, I'm moved. I think he's amazing. And then he came to watch me perform and he was impressed, and I was like, well, let me shoot my shot. So I was like, if you ever need someone for anything, and he was like, sure, yeah. And it was only like a year later during COVID that he pulled through, and we have not stopped since. Like, it's not every gig, you know, it's not every time he has something, but it's on certain projects. And I think his eye for understanding where people can fit in and lie, but also push themselves, challenge themselves, is something that I'm trying to like rub from him, like get from him, because I think that thing is a gift. Like I think that thing is a gift where you're like, you don't fit in here, so we're not going to make space for you, but rather you have a very different understanding of something, which means that your approach to this could be different. So why not? Let's have you know, you have something to say. And so first and foremost, it was the fact that no one is an underdog or counted out in his eyes. And so working with him through a Bierston, like a little play we did in 2020, and then going to Bierston, and then doing work as Stephen Mazungula. He did a writing program there, and that writing program, you think he was working with grade 6s and grade 7s. He brought the program, and then we facilitated Sibatatu, and then he would come in sometimes. Well, not sometimes, like once a week he'd come in. And then it was like a 3-day session with the students. But that, and he did it for 2 years, right? And every day there were snacks. There was like half an hour where the kids were able to like express their thoughts, like a back and Ndondo. And he was like, this isn't a classroom. Like, tell them to go outside. They must do group work, come back. So it was just like that understanding of, okay, you know, let the kids explore themselves, let the people explore themselves and have conversations into what they want to bring in, right? Don't structure them. They have voices. Don't structure them or don't tell them how they should move, feel, or whatever. Anyway, so that program went really well. The kids they loved it. They came back for both those years. They were actually fighting for slots to come back. More kids wanted to come back. And then from that program, a girl who was in grade 6 and then did grade 7 with us under the program got a full scholarship to collegiate.
Who's this girl?
There was there was Ulilita something.
Okay.
Sorry, I know her first name. It's her second name that I'm forgetting. But a sweet, shy, quiet girl who could write. And they most with these when you're like your Bali test to get into school, NMMU or whatever. I forget what they call them. But in I don't want to say in primary schools, but in that particular case, it was more of a creative writing process. And so that's where the program helped through giving her that confidence of on the spot, on that day, in a language that we don't speak 24/7 at school. You can write something. And you can articulate yourself.
Nice.
And so that's now I was like, oh, this is cool, man. And then this year we did a play called Conversations with Victoria.
Okay.
And I got to play Queen Victoria herself. And it was the best. Like,
oh, you loved
I
Queen
loved
Victoria.
it because it wasn't this normal Queen Victoria. She was a menace and a nuisance to society. And she was just on stage and in real life too. But like, he literally kind of took this idea of what we felt colonialism was and he made it nasty and he put it in Victoria and he said, perform that. I was like, with pleasure. And it was great. It was really great. So that's what, in a nutshell, I learned from him. It's like creativity, man, comes in different ways, man.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't try to structure it from the beginning. So I wrote a piece in 2021 and he directed it called The Beloved. And it was based on the idea of what happens to your spirit when you die.
Okay.
And it was inspired by this two things. Dandise Ndlombeni, and we were outside. Mkhatweni, ne? Yeah, Mkhatweni Othule, and there was like a little shade area with the trees. Like it's like you're camping. And so this and these two old gentlemen walked past. And so, you know, like with African spiritualism, acknowledgement is so important. So abantu bayadlula sihleli apha akhonto yenzekayo for nothing, like molweni, sondelani, inani thought ningobani, you know, because besikabona ngabantu imini yonke apha, you know. And so they were like elihlahla is for a ceremony. Yes. So that was the first one. And then I came back from that and I was like, what happened to Inene's spirit when she died at the post office? Did anyone go get her? Did they know that that's something that they do? Is that her family? Is that something her family practices? But what happened to the girl spirit who died in an apartment and they put her in a bin and they went to go burn her?
The one who got burned? Yeah. What happened to the one in the suitcase?
What happened to all of them?
Let's stop.
What happened?
Not dope.
No, let's stop.
Yeah.
So that's what The Beloved became about. When you read Tombstone, it says, here lies our beloved mother, our beloved something. So these two women who were killed in an open space by God knows who or what, you know, and they were left there. Their spirits thought that that's where they live.
They linger in the
So their spirits built a home there. Their spirits built a home there. And every morning their spirits do the same thing. We know God is on the way. But every time we switch on the radio, we're hearing reports of bodies of dead women. And it's lingering with us because it's our stories as well.
As well.
And so that's kind of where the psychosis of spirit comes into play. How long am I going to be here before redemption comes, before uThixo abethela mpempe ukuthi azayibetha azosithatha bra elaxilongo bra.
I don't mean to cut you off, but time truly flies. I don't mean to cut now off yakin, but we have to unfortunately end it here. But I think it's very obvious that you have to come back, because there's a lot more. Let's just say this was introduction to, Zandile, the 101 type vibe. 102 must come, because there's a lot of work that you're still busy with that Nelson Mandela Bay, that the entire province needs to be excited about. So I would say let's leave it here. Siyayazi influence yakhe ngoku, siyayazi the things that she's done. We're going to talk future things when you come back.
I can't wait to come back, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.